Alright everybody, welcome back! So many of y'all should remember my What to Expect series I did with the F-15, SC-27 and Gripen before they were announced. I had planned to do Chinese flankers next, even though we do already have the first one, but I ran into some issues finding good sources. So instead, I decided to do a video on the AMRAAM family this time. It's a little bit different, we're doing a missile. Some transparency up front, we do already know the AMRAAM is dropping very soon. On the Russian dev stream last patch, Gaijin confirmed it would either be coming in March or June. Personally, I think it's coming in March because they confirmed a Gripen C for Sweden, despite already giving all the Gripen C stuff to the A. For those of y'all who didn't know, the Gripen A actually didn't have an HMD in real life, didn't have the targeting pod, and didn't have laser-guided bombs. Now, of course, the Gripen A can use AMRAAM. It actually didn't use Skyflash in normal service, but I think they're going to go ahead and force you to grind the C instead to get access to the new missile. It seems like something Gaijin would do. They did also add a decal last week with an AMRAAM, and while that doesn't necessarily mean anything, they also added a MiG-29 decal in game shortly before it was announced. So if you'd like to see more missile families, or if this is your first time seeing my videos, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe. It lets me know you'd like to see more. With that out of the way, let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to start with the AMRAAM A and B, as these are the missiles that we're likely to get next patch. These are not just an active homing AIM-7M like is commonly said. I'm grouping these together as they are insanely similar for War Thunder purposes at least, as they have the same body and motor, and were also developed very close to each other as well. In real life, the AMRAAM B was a major electronics update that really helped with logistics, which it allowed updates to be flashed to the missile rather than having to swap out the actual memory cards. Allegedly, this did also allow them to update the lofting algorithm on the AMRAAM B later in life, as the A did have lofting but had very limited ability to do so, only at extreme range. However, the details on lofting for either of these missiles isn't public knowledge and is still very much classified, and I have a feeling Gaijin will make the missiles identical in game. Kinda like how the AIM-7F and M are identical, or the AIM-9P and the RB-24J for example. Either that, or they could just always skip straight to the B as well. As for performance, these missiles are heavily classified, so a lot is going to be iffy and Gaijin will be guessing on a lot of things, but we do know a few things for sure. First and foremost, the missile is almost certainly 35 Gs. Allegedly, there's declassified South Korean documents showing that, but I haven't personally seen them. Now, we do know for sure it can do at least 28 Gs, as this was confirmed by the US Air Force. Only thing here is that they said it performed a 28G turn, which doesn't mean that's the limit, just that it did so. Range estimates have also varied wildly and very inaccurate online, but as you can see right here, the AMRAAM A has been confirmed to have at least 40 nautical mile, which is 74 kilometer range, as you can see right here. That's substantially better than the Sparrow, which is limited by the seeker head to around 40 kilometers, while being lighter, lower drag, and having less burn time. Speaking of, it has roughly 8 seconds of burn time, although this is also classified, so we're going to have to guess from videos and the like. Compared to the AIM-7M, you can expect the AMRAAM to have better pull, better acceleration, better range, and of course it is also active, which is an advantage all to itself. Its seeker should have a similar range to the Phoenix, so you can expect around 16-18 kilometers for it to begin homing by itself. The AMRAAM is still affected by multipath, which, if you don't know what that is whenever, if you're flying super low at the ground, radar missiles miss. Yes, the AMRAAM is still affected by that. If you skim the dirt, the AMRAAM will miss just like the Sparrow, just like the Phoenix, just like any other missile. It won't be nearly as much of an issue to deal with as stuff like later IR missiles such as the AIM-9X or the IRS-T, which, if modeled correctly, will become basically impossible to flare. Before I move on to the later versions, I do want to take a quick second to talk about AMRAAM versus the R-77, which is almost certainly coming with it, and what planes could or should get it. But one thing I see thrown around a lot is people saying that the R-77 will absolutely destroy the AMRAAM A and B, and that we need the AMRAAM C. And to be honest, I think it's been really overstated. To put them side by side, the AMRAAM A and B have 74 kilometer range, the R-77 80. Wow, 6 kilometers difference. The AMRAAM is 35 Gs, the R-77 40. They both have roughly the same top speed, roughly the same burn time, and this is all just assuming they have equal drag stats. The R-77 has good high speed but terrible transonic drag due to the grid fin design. There is a very real possibility that Gaijin could give the R-77 worse induced drag. Induced drag means it would bleed more energy while it's pulling. And if that's the case, then the AMRAAM would most likely be better in normal ARB situations, as 35 Gs is already more than enough to hit pretty much any target, and the AMRAAM would have better energy retention. Of course, this is all speculation, and we're going to have to see how Gaijin handles it. As for aircraft, this is a complete list of aircraft that we currently have that support the AMRAAM. Now, I don't think every aircraft here will actually get their AMRAAMs. For example, I think that Italy and Taiwan's F-16ADF and MLE will actually get their AMRAAMs, as Italy only has the AVAB that's an attacker, besides the F-16 that can definitely carry AMRAAMs, and China only has the J-8F getting PL-12s. But the US has the F-16 Block 50 after the ADF. In this case, I believe they'll just give AMRAAM to the sea for the US at least, and leave their ADF at 12.0 with only Sparrows, which lets them have a little bit of progression. The Israeli F-16D also most likely won't get AMRAAM, as their model did not support AMRAAM, and they never actually purchased the upgrade kit that would allow them to do so. We're lucky you got Sparrows at all. Israel will either get AMRAAMs on their current F-15 or get a new F-15 that can use AMRAAM instead. Speaking of, the F-15A is able to use AMRAAM so long as they give it the correct radar, the AN/APG-63 PSP, which it should already have, as they've said it's the 1994 Air National Guard version, which is why it has flares. But I have a feeling we'll get an F-15C with AMRAAMs instead very soon, so just like with the ADF, they'll leave the F-15A with only Sparrows, and then have you grind the F-15C to get AMRAAM. Of course, we'll have to see. Speaking of AMRAAM-C, I expect us to see the AMRAAM-C family either later this year or sometime next year. There are quite a few models of AMRAAM-C as illustrated here, but Gaijin doesn't usually make multiple versions of a missile. AIM-120 C3 and C4 are therefore unlikely to come, as they add clip wings to allow them to fit in the weapons bay, and some software and warhead changes, but they wouldn't really actually matter in War Thunder. The clip wings don't change the agility of the missile, and we won't be getting anything like the F-22 for a while. What I think we will get instead is an AIM-120 C5 or later. This introduced a new, longer-range motor. The amount of range increase is still heavily classified, but around 105 to 120 kilometers is usually thrown around online and is a reasonable estimate. This puts it neatly in line with the R-77-1 at 110 kilometers claimed range, and we'll probably start to see these missiles with early 4.5 gens and the like. Stuff like the Eurofighter, for example, or perhaps a later F-15C model than the one we're probably going to get soon. For War Thunder purposes at least, the only real upgrades are going to be extra range and probably a more notch and chaff resistant seeker head. It should still be 35 Gs, it should still be affected by multipath, nothing really should change there. But I still wouldn't expect to get this missile for quite a while, at least another few months. Finally, we have the AMRAAM-D, which is the most modern AMRAAM to date. We can expect to see this in very late 4.5 and 5th gens when we get those, as Gaijin did confirm plans for 5th gens in the future. This has at least 50% greater range than the C7 before it, which places it conservatively at around 160 to 170 kilometers. This notably makes it the first AMRAAM to reach AIM-54 Phoenix levels of range. It has a lot of other features as well, including two-way data link, an enhanced inertial guidance that has a GPS add-on, improved high-off boresight capability, and is better in basically every way than the AMRAAM C7 before it. The AMRAAM-D and its derivatives will almost certainly be the last AMRAAM type produced, as despite only entering initial service in 2015, the replacement has already been tested as we speak, the AIM-260. Newer variants such as the AIM-120 D3 have been confirmed by Raytheon to have even greater range, but no specifics are given. So I doubt we'll see this missile in War Thunder for at least another probably 2 to 3 years, but whenever it does come, expect it to come with stuff like, early versions of the Meteor, the R-77M if Russia ever gets that working. It's crazy to imagine, but I'd say probably around 4 or 5 years from now, we should be flying F-22s and F-35s with AIM-9X and AMRAAM-D against SU-57s, or honestly more likely mixed battles. I hope this cleared up a lot of stuff about the AMRAAM. I was getting kind of frustrated with all the misinformation that I saw going around, so I figured I might as well go ahead and make this, especially because the AMRAAM is almost certainly coming next patch. If you have any questions for me or if I missed anything, feel free to leave it down below. And besides that, how are y'all feeling about the addition of AMRAAM, which is right around the corner? You excited? You nervous? You think it's going to ruin the game? I've seen quite a mix of everything. In any case, hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'll catch y'all next time, and peace, y'all.